You know you're using it this very second. It's something we use every single day to work, to learn, to connect with each other. But do we really know the story behind the World Wide Web? How this one idea, born in a physics lab in Switzerland, completely rewired our entire world? Okay, let's really get into it. First things first, we've got to clear up one of the biggest mix-ups out there. You hear people use the words internet and web like they're the same thing all the time. But here's the deal, they are absolutely not the same. So what's the real difference? Okay, think of it like this. The internet is the physical infrastructure. It's the actual network of computers all connected together by fiber optic cables crisscrossing the ocean floor, satellites in space, all that stuff. The internet is the roads and highways. The World Wide Web, on the other hand, is all the stuff you find on those roads. It's the websites, the documents, the videos. It's the system of information that runs on top of the internet. Right, so tech people often talk about this in layers. The internet is that foundational layer, the hardware, the network. And the web is what we call an application layer that just sits right on top of it. It's really just a very powerful app, kind of like email or file sharing that uses the internet to work. Without the internet, there's no web. Simple as that. So where did this revolutionary idea even come from? Well, for that, you have to picture the late 1980s at CERN, the huge nuclear research facility. And honestly, for scientists there, it was just information chaos. You had thousands of researchers all on different kinds of computers using different networks with software that couldn't talk to each other. It was a total nightmare just trying to find and share your work. And this is where our main character comes in, a British computer scientist named Tim Berners-Lee. You know, he wasn't setting out to invent a global platform for cat videos. He was just a frustrated scientist who was trying to solve a really practical problem. How do we stop all this important research from just getting lost? So in 1989, Berners-Lee wrote up a proposal with the pretty boring title of Information Management. But inside was this radical idea for what he called a universal linked information system. Basically, a way to connect different documents on different computers using these things called hyperlinks. It sounds so obvious now, but back then it was a huge leap. And the beginnings of the web? Incredibly humble. You're looking at it. This machine, a Next computer, wasn't a web server. It was the web server. The entire early World Wide Web ran on this one single box sitting on Tim Berners-Lee's desk. There was even a note taped to it that said, "This machine is a server. Do not power it down." No kidding. Now, to make this whole system work, Berners-Lee knew he had to invent three key technologies that all worked together. The first was the URL, the Uniform Resource Locator. Just think of it as a unique mailing address for every single file, picture, or page on the web. Without a standard address system, you'd never be able to find anything reliably. Okay, so you've got an address. Now you need a way to ask for the information at that address, right? So he created HTTP, the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. If the URL is the address on the envelope, HTTP is the postal service. It's the set of rules, the language that lets your browser say, "Hey server, please send me this file," and lets the server respond, "You got it, here it comes." And the third piece of this puzzle, what the server actually sends back. That's HTML, the hypertext markup language. This is the basic blueprint for every web page you see. It tells your browser how to structure everything. This is a headline, this is a paragraph, and, most importantly, this text right here is a hyperlink that points to another URL. That's the magic. So with those three things, URL, HTTP, and HTML, the web was officially born. But for the first few years, it was really just a tool for academics. The next part of the story, though, is when this little project exploded from a niche tool into a global force that would change, well, everything. The growth was pretty slow at first, but then 1993 hit, and two key things happened that just blew the doors wide open. First, CERN made the huge decision to make the web's code public domain, totally free. Then, later that year, the first really user-friendly browser, Mosaic, was released. It made the web graphical, and suddenly anyone could use it, not just scientists. That was the game changer. And I really cannot overstate how important that first decision was. Making the web royalty-free might be the single most crucial moment in its history. By making the tech open and free for anyone to use and build on, CERN guaranteed that no one company could ever own or control it, and that unleashed a wave of innovation all over the world. You can really see why this mattered when you look at the web's main competitor at the time, a system called Gopher. Gopher was pretty cool, but it had a fatal flaw. Its creators decided to start charging licensing fees to use it. The web, being totally free and much more flexible with its web of hyperlinks, just ran circles around Gopher's clunky, expensive menu system. The result? A total knockout. All right, so we've got the history down, but what's actually happening under the hood when you type in a web address and hit enter? That one little click kicks off this lightning-fast chain reaction behind the scenes. It all happens in 4 super quick steps. 1, your browser uses something called DNS, the domain name system, to turn the website name you typed into a numerical IP address, which is like the computer's real phone number. 2, it sends an HTTP request to the server at that address. 3, the server grabs all the files for the page and sends them zipping back. And 4, your browser catches all those pieces, the HTML, the images, and assembles them into the finished web page. All of that happens in the blink of an eye. And modern websites are even more clever. A lot of pages you see aren't just sitting there as a static file. They're built on the fly, just for you. When you check your social media feed, for example, the server is actually pulling all the latest posts from a database and building a custom web page right there in that instant. So you zoom out from that one little computer at CERN to today. The web has become the most dominant information platform in human history. It's how billions of us interact with the internet every single day. And its legacy is, it's profound and it's pretty complex. I mean, on the one hand, its positive impact is just staggering. It's given us instant access to nearly all of human knowledge. It's allowed people to collaborate across oceans. It's the engine that powers our entire information age. It has fundamentally reshaped how we learn, how we work, and how we connect with each other. But, and you knew there was a but, that exact same openness has created enormous challenges. Our privacy is a huge concern, with our every move being tracked by cookies. The web is the #1 way security threats like phishing scams and malware spread. And once your personal information gets out there, it can be almost impossible to ever fully take it back. So, from a simple idea to help scientists share documents, the World Wide Web grew to connect the entire planet in this incredible network of information. It really defined the last 30 years of human history. Which leaves us with the pretty big question to think about. What's the platform that's going to define the next 30?